Turkey! Woo! So I made this format for my slides before I knew that I was going to be following electronic arts, so the stars have aligned. So let's see. I've been an entrepreneur, and now I'm mentoring startups. And I want to talk to you guys today about something that I keep seeing over and over in all the companies that I'm mentoring, and I call that the Triforce of Value. Basically, what we're going to be talking about is how to grow and strategize your business with a focus on creating value for your customer versus creating value for yourself or for your investors. First, a little more bio. I was an outsider from Silicon Valley. I grew up in Oklahoma and was living in Kansas City when I started building Storenvy. And then I moved out to Silicon Valley, was able to raise $7 million from some of the best investors in the world, built the company to 25 or 30 people. We had over 100,000 online stores, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what we did. And ultimately sold it recently to a company co-owned by Alibaba, who's sort of really interested in the small business space. And now I mentor early stage companies while I'm trying to figure out what's next. So on the Triforce of Value, the first element is your positioning value. And that's another triangle. So this is the idea of good, fast, cheap, pick two. This kind of came out of the agency world of client work, like advertising. And the idea is that if you want it fast and cheap, it's not going to be good. And if you want it fast and good, well, it's not going to be cheap. You get the idea. So it's always a trade-off. You can only pick two. But yeah, I've seen a ton of companies trying to do all three. Because, and as I've dug in on why that is, I've realized that it's because they are actually insecure. They might have a more innovative solution that gets people something faster or with less effort or whatever, but they still are underpricing their competition. So they're doing all three of these. And what I've seen is actually the most powerful is when you're so good at two of these that you don't need to do the third one, and the third one is usually your business model. So let's unpack what these words mean for a second. So good, it could mean a bunch of different things. It could just mean high quality. It could be that it's complicated. It could just mean that it's like a fancy, car or a nice watch or something that gives somebody a sense of status. Fast, it's just easy to get it. It's accessible. You don't have to, wait for it. The process of getting it saves you time. And then cheap doesn't necessarily mean, low quality. It just means affordable or low investment to get it. Now, let's walk through some examples so we can kind of internalize this. Uber black car. I actually want to hear what you guys think. Which two do you think Uber black car is? Fast and good. All right, so then the market actually convinced Uber that they needed to play a different game here as well, so they released another product called UberX. So what is UberX? Fast and cheap. It's not good compared to the black car. You're in somebody's Prius, but another part of the market wanted that, so they released another product. IKEA. I would argue that IKEA is actually pretty good. It's good and cheap because you have to put it together when you get home and it takes hours. Apple, this one's easy. Good and fast. Okay, now let me tell you about Storenvy. Storenvy is an e-commerce platform that lets you set up your own online store and then also join a marketplace. I created it because I'd been working with a whole bunch of very small businesses in Kansas City and had been building all these online stores for people from scratch, and I found that they were spending way too much money, to me, in order to get an online store, but a big piece of it was just that they were intimidated by the other solutions out there at the time in the late 2000s, like Yahoo Stores or something like that. And so I realized that a big barrier for these people was just the sense of confidence that they needed to get going, and it just seemed too complicated to them. And so I built something that let people easily and quickly set up their own online store, and I also believed strongly that sort of having to look at a pricing page before you sign up or put in a credit card number was another thing preventing people from exploring their entrepreneurial or creative potential. And so I also wanted it to be free to get started. So now that we've got very easy and free, where do we go? Fast and cheap. But the thing is that I spent my entire time at Storenvy feeling guilty that it wasn't powerful, that it wasn't the most powerful one on the market. And it's because I wasn't thinking in this paradigm. And I wanted the cool kids to use my thing because, I wanted the people that knew what they were doing, the cool brands out there, to be selling on my platform because I kind of knew what was cool, and that's what helped me make this thing for this underserved part of the market. But my focus, we spent 7 years just building feature after feature after feature instead of really investing in being the best on the market for fast and cheap, which was actually the underserved category that was out there. There were other people playing the feature war, and we were the best at being the fastest, most affordable way to set up your own online store, but so much of my emotional energy was misplaced, and I see that all the time, people trying to be all three of these. And if you can pick two, it will actually define your positioning, and it will tell you exactly who your customers are, and more importantly, it'll tell you what not to do, what not to stay up late at night thinking about, because you're not serving those customers, or you're not trying to be that guy. So you want to make sure that you're playing your own game and winning at that and not playing somebody else's game. I think we've already heard that today. So pick two, and maybe the third one is your business model. So like at Storenvy, it was fast and cheap, but you could upgrade to get some additional features. I've seen this a lot. Recently I tried a really affordable U.S. airline, and it was fast and cheap because I could book it with little effort, and it was affordable, but I couldn't pick my seat without paying. So in order to get the good, I had to pay, and that's oftentimes the one you're not specializing in is your business model. All right, the next part of the Triforce of Value is actually the real customer value. So we got Mario, and we got this awesome flower, and then we got Fireball Mario. So much of our energy is focused on talking about our product and obsessing over how well our product works. But what we should be doing is trying to figure out, are we making good Fireball Marios? Is that our expertise? Are we excellent at making somebody into a better version of themselves? People don't buy products. They buy better versions of themselves. Let that sink in. No one needs a Fitbit. They need the value that you get from a Fitbit. So let's unpack that just a little bit. The Harvard Business Review identified 30 different types of real customer value that you can focus on in your business and provide. If you're doing something else that's not on this list, it's probably not something that people really need. And with Fitbit, like I said, people don't need a band or a piece of hardware. What they need is motivation or information or the ability to make good decisions. And so I would say the most powerful thing you can do with your business is actually design your KPIs and your metrics around how well you're delivering on real human value, like making people feel connected and making people more informed, or these kind of things, because the products and services that we have, unless you've got a life-saving device or something like that, likely people don't really need your solution. They need more of this stuff. So constantly come back to how your solution or product or service or whatever is applying to things on this hierarchy of needs, and you will never lose track of what people are really needing. So I noticed, like, really on in Storenvy that, like, so much of what people were enjoying about our software was actually a feeling of confidence. You could call that self-actualization. Like, people were like, wow, like, I'm an e-commerce expert all of a sudden. It didn't matter if we were actually had higher conversion rates in our checkout flow than other software, or that we had all these features. People just wanted to feel like they were kicking ass. And that's what we were really good at. So constantly come back to the real value that your product is creating, and build your strategy and even your metrics around that. People don't buy products. They buy better versions of themselves. All right, the third piece. Awareness. And what I mean by that is you could do all this other stuff right. You could be playing the right game. You could be focusing on delivering the right value. And people, it's not clicking. They're not aware that they're getting the value. And I've seen this one a lot in both mentoring and at Storenvy. There's kind of three tiers of this. One, it's just, can you even give people value? Like, do you have the capability to provide value to people? Of course, like, that's kind of a given. Like, if you don't, you probably wouldn't be sitting in this room. But then, are people actually using it? And using it in the way that they get the value. I can't tell you how many apps I have on my phone that I don't really use, and many of which I don't even remember what they did. And they're just sitting there. And so, are people actually using it? Some people, there's this idea of customer success teams that help people, like, use the product. But going back to the customer value part of the Triforce, I believe that every single member of your entire company should be the customer success team, because there is no other purpose for being there except for creating value. And so you got to make sure that people are actually using it. And there's all kinds of product techniques and growth hacks and all that kind of stuff that you can get for people to use it. But that's not the most important one. The most important one is awareness of the value that they're getting. This really is something people ignore all the time when building companies. You might be providing unbelievable value that people just miss. They don't understand what you're helping them do, even though you've helped them do it. One great example, some great examples I've seen lately are Foursquare or Swarm. You check in, and now sometimes it will give you a little quiz and say, how many offices have you checked into, or whatever the type of business it is. And then you guess, and if you guess right, you get some coins. But what this does is it reminds the user, like, wow, you've invested a lot here. And there's value to using this over the course of a long period of time, because you have all this data and this archive and this history, so you better keep using. You've gotten value, and that gives you a sense of satisfaction and encourages you to keep using it. Spotify, they emailed me this at the end of the year, and I was like, wow, like 28,000 minutes of music. That's so much music. I got so much value out of that. 3,500 different songs played in a year. Like, that's well worth the $120 a month that I've been spent, or $120 a year at $10 a month that I've spent. And then, the Nest Smart Thermostat. They email me every month. There's no cost for this. I paid them already. And they'll tell me, here was your energy savings, here was like what you use. It both educates me and gives me that insight and information that helps me make better decisions and makes me feel like I'm kicking ass at heating my home, and then also shows me like, and because you have this, look at the value you got, you reduced your energy usage or whatever. So at Storenvy, we sent out like badges or emails, because it was very consumerized. We had little badges that you would get as a merchant when you got your first sale or your 10th sale, and people don't know how many sales they've got. So it's like, that's your 100th sale, and people would be like, damn, like I'm really kicking ass here, and this is a great platform that's helping me out. So, pushing the value all the way through from providing it to actually helping the customer recognize it and be aware of it. And that's what will turn them into advocates for you once that they really recognize the value that they've gotten. A lot of people build apps sort of like in a, if you build it, they will come sort of way. And they just put this awesome software out in the world, and then they just, people use it. But engaging with the entire life cycle of success all the way through the post-purchase and the satisfaction and understanding is so important, especially in an early stage company as you're learning about product market fit and as you're learning about like what people really want and need. So this is the Triforce of Value. I would highly, highly encourage you to pick 2, good, fast, cheap, to explore that Harvard Business Review hierarchy of real customer needs, to understand the ones that you're targeting, and also look for new opportunities on that you can add to what you're already doing. And then I would encourage you to really push through the understanding of value to your customers in order for them to become advocates and feel very satisfied with what you've done. People don't buy products. They buy better versions of themselves. And so if you have a really value delivery-driven approach to your business, then your customers are going to recognize that. Otherwise, you're sort of doing it more for yourself and the benefit of your company. One thing that I like to say is create value for enough people, and you yourself will become valuable. If you focus and build your metrics and your entire attitude as an entrepreneur, as an individual, and as a company around creating value for people, real value in their lives, not technology, not wristbands and apps, but actual human value that never changes, then you yourselves will become valuable. So go slay some dragons. Thank you.